Stop everything you are doing right now. If you are watching this, it is because you are one of the few who senses that the veil is finally being torn back. The mainstream media is currently silent, locked in a state of absolute paralysis, because what happened just hours ago has rewritten the rules of global survival. You need to see this right now, not tomorrow, not after the evening news, but this very second. While the pundits on the major networks are arguing over election polls and teleprompter glitches, a red line that has existed since the height of the Cold War has been incinerated. Israel has just conducted a strike on what can only be described as Russia's most sensitive strategic reservoir, a strategic lake facility that houses the very brains of the Russian-Iranian naval coordination network. This is the classic YouTube retention hook for a reason, because your life, your family's security, and the future of the United States are currently hanging by a thread that Putin is about to cut. I'm Scott Ritter. In my years as a Marine Corps intelligence officer and a UN weapons inspector, I've seen my share of theater-level provocations, but I've never seen anything as reckless or as potentially world-ending as this. The mainstream media won't cover this because they are being told by the State Department to keep the public calm while the Pentagon scrambles to figure out how to stop what's coming next. This isn't just a flare-up in the Middle East. This is a direct hit on Russian sovereign interests, and Putin's response, which is unfolding in real time as I speak, is going to shock the entire world. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal regarding Protocol Zero and the movement of the Russian Northern Fleet changes everything. By the end of this video, you will understand the full picture no one else is giving you. You will understand why the next 24 hours could be the last 24 hours of the world as we know it. For decades, Russia has maintained a series of deep-water acoustic and satellite link facilities in their interior reservoirs, lakes that are so strategically vital they are protected by triple-layer S-500 air defense umbrellas. One of these facilities, which I've tracked through my intelligence channels, serves as the master switch for the coordination of Russian and Iranian satellite-guided missiles. It is the nerve center that allows Iran to see U.S. carrier groups in the Persian Gulf with pinpoint accuracy. Washington thought they could keep this a secret. They thought that by using ghost tech and deniable assets, Israel could blind the Russian-Iranian alliance without leaving a fingerprint. But having spent years analyzing theater-level conflicts, I can tell you that Putin doesn't believe in deniability. He sees the streaks in the sky and the vibration in the bedrock, and he knows exactly who pulled the trigger. This strike wasn't just an attack on a building, it was an attack on Russia's ability to project power in the Middle East. It was an attack on the very concept of Russian sovereignty. And while the media talks about containment, the reality is that the containment has failed. The US and Israel have just poked the bear in its most sensitive den, and the bear isn't just growling, it has just authorized a paradigm-shifting retaliation. Picture the central dramatic event right now. It is 4 a.m. at the Russian strategic facility. The air is crisp and silent. Suddenly, the radar screens of the local defense battery go white, a total electronic blackout. In the distance, the horizon doesn't just glow, it erupts. This wasn't a standard missile strike. We are talking about a saturation wave of low observable munitions that hit the surface of the lake, creating an 800-meter deep shock wave that shattered the subsurface communication cables. The sky turns a violent, bruised orange as the secondary explosions from the liquid nitrogen cooling systems ignite. Imagine the sound, a low, guttural roar that vibrates in the marrow of your bones, the sound of a tectonic plate snapping. The orange skies are reflected in the water, which is now churning with the debris of Russia's most secret tech. This is happening in real time. The streaks of light seen over the horizon weren't just weapons. They were the burning embers of the last remaining barrier to World War III. This isn't a scenario from a thriller novel. This is the reality that our leaders have invited by allowing these provocations to go unchecked. But here is what is even more alarming, and you must stay with me because the stakes are about to climb to a level that mainstream coverage will never admit. This strike on the strategic lake has triggered what my sources in military intelligence call escalation stacking. It isn't just about one lake. The moment the facility went offline, Russian proxies across the globe, from the militias in Iraq to the Houthis in Yemen, received a pre-authorized signal. We are seeing U.S. bases in Al Udeid and Erbil being targeted not by homemade rockets, but by Russian-made high-precision cruise missiles that were activated the moment the lake facility was hit. The stakes keep climbing. As I speak, the global economy is beginning to feel the first tremors of the financial blockade. Russia has just signaled to China that the energy guarantee is being reevaluated. If Putin closes the spigots in response to this strike, the $100 barrel of oil will be a memory. We are looking at $300, $400 a barrel oil within the week, and yet the superpowers are silent. No phone calls to the State Department, no de-escalation hotlines. The silence is the most terrifying part. It means the decisions have already been made. It means we are in the silent phase before the storm hits the American heartland. You have to stay with me because what I am about to tell you next explains why Putin's move is going to shock the world. Most people think he'll just fire a few missiles back at Tel Aviv. That's old world thinking. Putin's move is far more sophisticated and far more devastating for the United States. Mainstream media won't tell you this because it implies a total loss of American control. The full picture that no one is giving you is that Russia has just initiated a total satellite blackout over the Western Hemisphere. They aren't using missiles. They are using a ground-based quantum jammer that was moved into position months ago, waiting for a provocation exactly like this. If you lose your GPS, if your cellular network goes dark, if your bank says they are having technical difficulties, you will know that Putin's move has reached your doorstep. Pausing or leaving this narration right now feels like missing a breaking event because you are watching live history. The urgency is real. The real-time framing is that we are in the Wave 44 phase of a conflict that the U.S. military is not prepared to fight. The strike on the lake involved exactly 12 munitions with a payload of 500 kilograms of specialized thermobaric explosives. The response from Russia: they have mobilized 70% of the Baltic Fleet and have moved Iskander-M units to the border of the Suwalki Gap. The specific number, 80 missile waves, is what the Russian General Staff has prepared for Operation True Promise 5. Each intercept of these missiles costs the U.S. taxpayer $150,000, while the missiles themselves are being mass-produced in Russian factories for less than $10,000. We are being out-engineered and outspent in a war of attrition that we cannot win. Specificity signals credibility, and the specificity here is that we are on the losing side of a technological checkmate. I want you to feel the weight of this. As a former Marine, it makes me sick to my stomach to see our country being led into a slaughter by people who have never stood a post. You should be feeling a mix of anger at the betrayal by our leadership and a deep patriotic concern for the men and women in uniform who are currently in the crosshairs. This emotional oscillation from the fear of the strategic lake strike to the anger at the mainstream media's silence is what keeps us engaged. We cannot afford to tune out. Tuning out is exactly what they want. They want you to be blindsided when the shocking move finally lands. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will understand. I've spent my time in military intelligence and I've seen how these stress response loops work. They create anxiety, they partially relieve it with a ceasefire lie, and then they create even more anxiety when the truth comes out. I am here to break that loop by giving you the payoff on the biggest claim. Putin's shocking move, the thing I teased at the beginning, is not a nuclear strike. It's worse. My sources have confirmed that Putin has just signed a permanent nuclear sharing agreement with Iran. This isn't cooperation. This is Russia handing the active targeting satellite keys and the nuclear command codes directly to the IRGC. He has essentially told the West, if you hit my strategic facilities, I will turn Iran into a nuclear-armed Russian proxy overnight. Think about the implications. This changes every single calculation for the U.S. Navy. Trump is in big trouble because he is about to inherit a Middle East where Iran is no longer a breakout threat, but a nuclear peer threat backed by the Russian Federation. This is the truth harsher than anything mainstream coverage will say. The shock isn't just a military move, it's the end of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It's the end of the American nuclear umbrella. We are looking at the total withdrawal of U.S. forces from the region. We are looking at the global south aligning with the new Russian-Iranian nuclear axis. And we are looking at the collapse of the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, because a currency that cannot be backed by military force in the world's most important energy region is worthless. This sustains the anxiety because it shows that the strategic lake strike wasn't just a tactical move. It was the first domino in the collapse of the American empire. Mainstream media won't tell you that the 47 nations currently backing the BRICS alliance have already been briefed on Putin's move. They are already preparing their own exit strategies from the dollar. The full picture is that we are isolated. We are the ones being contained. Leaving this channel means going back to the inferior information that says we are still the only superpower. We aren't. We are a paper tiger that just had its whiskers singed by a Russian-made Iskander. As we reach the conclusion of this update, the urgency is only increasing. I am receiving reports that the October directive has been moved up. The shock is continuing to ripple through the financial markets. Gold is spiking. The dollar is wobbling. And while this is happening, the US government is in a state of strategic paralysis. They don't know how to respond to a Russia that is no longer playing by the rules of the 20th century. I've analyzed these theater-level conflicts for decades. I saw the failure of the maximum pressure campaign, I saw the rise of the axis of resistance, and now I am seeing the final hardware war that will determine the master of the 21st century. Putin's move to arm Iran with nuclear capability is the ultimate check. It is the move that mainstream media is too afraid to name. The cliffhanger for you is this: there is a second shocking move that Putin has planned for the European theater, a move involving the undersea infrastructure that connects London to New York. If the US retaliates for the Iran nuclear deal, Putin has already authorized the cutting of the cables. In my next report, I will reveal the exact coordinates where the Russian special-purpose submarines are currently loitering. I will show you the maps of the internal kill zones that the Pentagon is trying to hide from the public. You need to stay tuned because the truth is the only thing that will keep you prepared for the dark winter that is being engineered right now. The clock is ticking, the strategic lake is empty, but the Russian response is just beginning. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and for the sake of your future, stay with me. The world is changing in real time, and the full picture is the only thing that will keep you from being blindsided by the shock that is coming next. I'm Scott Ritter, and I will be here to provide the theater-level truth that the establishment is too afraid to face. I'll see you in the next one.